All right, guys, so we've gone over transformations, we've gone over adjustments. Now I want to work with filters. And again, I'm going to go back to my Ducky. My file is already set up the way I need it to. Remember, I have my layer 0, and then I've got that original that I've kept just in case. And I'm going to start playing with filters up here on my menu. And again, like your adjustments, when you're playing up on the menu, if I'm doing image and adjustments, these are all going to be destructive. If I come to filter and start applying these will also be destructive, okay? Now, some changes are necessary and may need to be destructive, and others you may want to think through a little bit differently and choose to apply them non-destructively, okay? So before I start applying things to my duck, I actually want to go back to my glasses for a moment. And again, there are lots of reasons these glasses don't look like they belong here. First and foremost, again, is that ducks don't wear glasses, and glasses are not made for ducks. So as much as we try to fit this to the duck's face, it's never really gonna look like it really belongs there. A couple of other things is that when you have sunglasses on your face, if you're outside, in the house, most places, they're gonna cast some kind of shadow. So to make these look a little more realistic, you could go back to the effects button and remember, play with drop shadow like we did a couple of videos ago. The other thing is if the selected item is very, very sharp, let's say that the lines around it are super, super clean and very, very sharp, and they're a little different than the subject that you're putting them on for any reason. Again, that will increase the likelihood that they don't look realistic. And you can actually come up to filter and you can apply a little bit of a blur. In this instance, you've got a whole bunch of them, but a Gaussian blur is usually a pretty good option. And you'll see here that you can change the radius, okay? And you'll see if I take that up, it's super duper blurry. If I take that to 1, it's not as blurry. I'm going to take it to 0.5, okay? And you'll see that, it's just a little blurry. It's just softening it ever so slightly. I'm going to take it down a little more, maybe 1/4 of a pixel. Okay, I really just want it to be around the edges. And I'll go ahead and accept that. And again, the Ducky is actually very, very sharp. And so the more I blur the sunglasses, it's actually having a counter effect. But it's something I just want you to keep in the back of your mind as you're applying things like hats and sunglasses and earrings and jewelry and outfits, whatever the case may be. If it's looking too sharp on top of your subject, try applying a little bit of a Gaussian blur to it, okay? Now I'm going to go back to my Ducky layer. And again, if you open filter, you're going to see a bunch of different options here. And I won't go into this too much, mostly because I think they're self-explanatory. And for the kind of work that you're doing for this project, they're not always the best option, okay? But just to make sure you understand that these are available to you and just have a sense of how to use them. If I go to distort and I go to ripple, more often than not, you're going to get some kind of dialog box. You'll have a preview window, and you'll have some kind of slider or measurement or drop down. There will be something for you to play with. And so here I can play with the amount of ripple. Do I want more or less? Do I want them to be small or large? Okay. And hopefully you can see there are lots of reasons you might work with something like this. If I were drawing water and I needed it to look a little more watery and ripply like on the ocean or a lake, this kind of ripple effect might be really helpful. Okay, and I'll go ahead and hit OK. And you'll see, of course, that this is a destructive change and it is affecting layer 0. Okay. Again, there's plenty to play with here. I usually find that students like to play with the distort options, some of these pixelate options. In fact, I'll go ahead and play with one, maybe mosaic. All right, the cell size is a little large here. Maybe I'll take it down to 3, and you'll see it gives it sort of a pixelated kind of look. But I really think you're going to have more success and you're going to enjoy this kind of work more if you come up to filter and you go to filter gallery. Okay, now what is happening is that there's already some filters loaded into my gallery. and it's already applying this spatter filter, so that's why my ducky looks a little different here. And I'm just going to zoom in to make it a little easier for you guys to see. When you open this for the first time, all of these folders are probably going to be closed, and you'll likely only have one filter layer. Okay, and again, let me just reset this. Hopefully it looks like yours. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to open some of these filters, and you'll see that they give you the name. It gives you a picture, so you have a little bit of a preview of what that's going to look like. Okay, and as you click those, it's going to change your first filter layer. And this area works very much like the layers panel. I can add more layers, okay, and of course as I add those, it's duplicating palette knife, palette knife, palette knife, so that effect is becoming more and more strong. Okay, I can turn them off just like I could layers, and I can delete them. Okay, I can also, while I have palette knife selected, I can come over here and make adjustments to it. Okay, you'll see I can change the stroke size, the stroke detail. I can soften it more, soften it less. Okay. There are also some additional options in here. I can change that to note paper, sprayed strokes. Okay. So I'll go back to something else like smudge stick. And all of those drop downs are essentially coming from your artistic folder. Okay, so it's allowing me to make those changes quickly here. I'll go ahead and change this to brush strokes, and you'll see I'm on accented edges. And again, I've got these options. They just change a little bit. Okay, I can go splatter, and as I change between those, you can see that the options are just a little bit different. I can go ahead and add another layer, and maybe I'll go ahead and do a glass effect. I'll add another one. Maybe I'll do water paper. And as I do those, it's really nice to work within this area because I can see these effects happening and how they're working together. I can also reorder them, okay, and just kind of play with this effect until I find something that's interesting to me. And then I can hit OK, and you'll see that it's applied externally. And again, this is a destructive change. Okay, layer 0 has been affected permanently. Okay. So again, this is an area that I find students really, really love working. There's lots of reasons for that, but you know, it's just a fun place to sort of play and experiment and find a new way to present your subject. All right, I'll be back in a moment to talk about non-destructive filter changes, and then I'll show you the liquify filter.